Hello dear friends, it's been a while since I last made one of these videos, simply because my life is a bit too busy to keep up with all the new releases when they drop and to make a video as they drop. I sometimes don't have time for that. But this time we have some very exciting news and I thought it's worthy to make a video about that. Yesterday I put out my latest podcast episode and I mentioned that there was no news worthwhile to report on. And Games Workshop wouldn't be Games Workshop if they did not put out very exciting news the day after I said something like that. Which is exactly what they did. I'm talking of course about the announcements for the Grand Cathay army. We also get some new Wood Elves and Beastmen miniatures and some returning miniatures that have been announced. I'll cover those on the podcast. This episode I simply want to take a look at the different Cathay miniatures that we have gotten announced. So let's take a look at the web article. Here we have the announcement, bring harmony to the old world with the armies of Grand Cathay. There's a video here which I'm not going to show you. I'll link to the website in the description if you want to see it for yourself. We first get the battalion revealed, and this is quite a hefty battalion. We see 2 units of 5 cavalry here, and I guess these are going to be multi-part kits that you can also make as multi-purpose kits. I do remember that back in the day when they revealed that first Cathay look with the Total War Warhammer series of articles, that they had, I believe, 3 types of cavalry, so a bit like light, medium, heavy. So I guess that maybe these can be multifunctional. They are built all with spears and shields by the looks of it, but well, we'll just have to see and wait for that kit. This is definitely going to be a dual kit, or at least I expect it to be a dual kit. The cannon, there's a cannon over here at the left hand side and a rocket launcher on the right hand side. A bit, I guess, like a great cannon and one of those Empire rocket launchers. And then here we have the infantry in front, 3 blocks of 30 warriors. And I see 2 configurations, one with hand weapon and shield and the other one with what seem to be halberds, but they might also be some kind of specialized Cathay weapon that we have yet to meet. A nice set, it contains 50 plastic miniatures, and yeah, I think that's a very good basis for a Cathay army, so I think a lot of people will want to get that set if you want to get into those. Here we have this infantry, the Jade Warriors, 30 of them in 2 groups of 15 in this case. These are armed with swords and shields, and the other ones with the halberds. Yeah, they are called halberds here, with elegant crescent blades. They are the immovable wall on which the enemies of the Celestial Dragon break. Then here we have the cavalry unit up close. Also a rather nice looking unit, especially with those sort of bronze oxide, copper oxide colors there. I do notice that these warriors would not look amiss in an Age of Sigmar type army, meaning that they do seem to have quite a lot of detail, as is usual for those newer Games Workshop models, and that makes them look quite busy. There's quite a lot going on, and especially it might also be the way that they are painted, but I find that if I look at them, my eye simply doesn't know what to focus on. So yeah, that might be the paint job, but that would be a bit of a critique that I have with these miniatures, and I guess also with Games Workshop in general. It's a bit different for the cannon. This one is definitely the cannon, of course, as a centerpiece, and there's of course the ogre as well. That looks really cool. Same with the rocket battery. the Chinese fireworks, if I may call them that. And then we get to the characters. There is a Shugengen Lord on a Great Spirit Longma. The Longma I pointed out earlier is probably derived from the Chinese words for dragon and horse, because that's what it looks like, a dragon horse. I guess this will serve the function of a hero on Pegasus type monster. I don't think it's going to be as hefty as a, say, a hippogriff or a griffin, but definitely not a dragon. I think it's more of a Pegasus class, so a bit of a lighter monster, still very versatile and can be a hard hitter. I like the way that this is painted with those washed out greens and reds. It's definitely a color scheme that I think a lot of people will try to reproduce. Then we have the Gate Masters. These are the characters. I guess this will be a multi-part plastic kit that you can make with a hero on foot and a hero on horseback, and one of them can be a battle standard bear, and there's going to be lots of extra parts there too. So I expect that this will be just like with the High Elves or the Empire or the Orcs. You have those kits that you can make 2 characters out of, and lots of parts to have some versatility. This is a very new and unique unit. The Sky Lantern definitely looks very cool. I would love to see how this would be put on a base. You'd have to use a flyer stand for that, of course, but with all those things going on there at the bottom, it might be a bit difficult to put it on a flyer stand. I think this will serve the function a bit like a war wagon. If you take a look at the crew here, I see several different weapons. This one seems to have a sort of a sniper rifle thing going on. Here's one guy throwing bombs. So I guess that will have a sort of, I guess, a cross between a gyro bomber and a war wagon, especially seeing also these things here at the back, which may be weights, but they may also be bombs by the way that they are positioned and ready to be released. Then we have the Cathayan Sentinel. This is your, well, pretty much bone giant, or what's it called nowadays, Necrolith Colossus, that has been Chinafied, if I can call it that. The great terracotta warriors that guard the Great Bastion, the Great Wall. Painted here in 2 different color schemes, one of a more metallic color and the other one more in a terracotta color scheme. I don't think that there will be much versatility to this set, although there might be some. I know that usually the bigger sets, they have some options like multiple ways that they can be constructed, or multiple weapons such as the giant, the plastic giant that got released in 7th edition, that has the options to make it into a chaos giant or an ogre slave giant, or all of those different bits and pieces there. I don't know if this one will have that too. They only present us with one build here, although you do have 2 different heads. But if that's all that is different, then I think that's going to be a bit of a shame. Definitely a unit that seems like it's going to be very hard hitting, and I think that that weapon that he's holding is also going to have some nice special rules. I don't think they're just going to say this is a great weapon or something like that. Which I think would also not be very handy, a great weapon on a giant, because you already have a high strength, so they don't need that extra +2 strength. And then we get, of course, the Arcane Journal presented here. Again, a lot going on the cover, but it does show you the miniatures that we've been talking about so far. And finally, we get also our look at our first special character, Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon. And as you may remember from the articles when they were presented in the... when they were presented for the Total War Warhammer 3 video game, this is a Chinese lady, or well, Cathayan lady, of course, that can change shape into a dragon. So that's why you see two forms over here. I guess there are some very good rules for her, or maybe not good rules, but interesting rules. Let's call it that. Don't know if they're good yet. Very interesting rules where she can change into a dragon mid-game and change back into her, well, human form, with some benefits and drawbacks to either one. Yeah, let's see. That was it for this article. Um, what is this going to mean for us? One of the things I mentioned back in the day when those early drafts for Cathay and those early units were described was that it looked very much like an army that we already have, or at least elements from armies that we already have. I can mostly compare it to the Empire with its cavalry and infantry in different flavors. The war machines, I already mentioned the war balloon looking a bit like a war wagon. The only thing that Empire doesn't have, of course, is big constructs or giants. But, well, we have those in other armies like the Tomb Kings, so a bit of a cross between Tomb Kings and Empire, dare I say. Maybe even Tomb Kings if they were alive and in China, Old World China. So, as to those observations, I'm not sure if this army brings a lot of new things to the table. Certainly new things in the sense of new miniatures that look cool, a new faction to play with, a lot of new lore to get unlocked. Definitely something that we can explore, and definitely an army that I'm also going to be interested in getting. However, this also makes me wonder because, well, Warhammer the Old World, they said, is going to focus on the Old World. And the Old World consists, of course, of the Empire, Bretonia, dwarves, and the Wood Elves that live there. We go a little bit to the north with the Chaos Waste, a little bit to the west with the High Elves, a little bit to the south with the Tomb Kings. Orcs and Beastmen are mixed in there as well. But that is the Old World area. If you go a little bit farther to the east, you don't immediately hit Cathay. First, you go to the Darklands and to the Mountains of Morn. So the Chaos Dwarfs and the Ogre Kingdoms lie in between there. And if you take a bit of a detour towards the north, Kislev is too. For an Old World army, I would have thought it would make a lot more sense to have Kislev as your first release. If you're going to do a new army, because Kislev is practically in that greater Old World area. It's between the Empire and Chaos, so why not put a Kislev army in there? That they have chosen to do Cathay makes me think that we are going to see a little bit more of an expansion. And this gives me some hope that the legacy armies will get a return in Warhammer the Old World. One of the units mentioned in this Cathay article is Hobgoblins. The Great Bastion is under constant attack by Hobgoblins. So if you have Hobgoblins, that immediately puts your mind towards Chaos Dwarfs. Chaos Dwarfs are one of those legacy armies, as are Ogres, that lie in between the Old World and Cathay. So logically speaking, I'd say if you are going to introduce Cathay, also give us Chaos Dwarfs and Ogres at least. But why stop there? Why not simply do all of the legacy armies as regular armies? And I think that Games Workshop might get around to doing that. After the main armies have been released, and the last two that need to be released yet are Wood Elves and Beastmen, we got an announcement for those as well. After that, we will see Cathay, and hopefully after Cathay, they will give the legacy armies old world rules and bases as well. I think they already have a good basis for that, and that they can update those PDFs to make them into full-fledged armies. I think that the community has shown that those legacy armies are just as popular as all the other armies. They get played a lot. Yesterday, no, 2 days ago, the day before recording my podcast episodes, and I mentioned this on the podcast as well. I played a game with my buddy Roland. We played Dark Elves versus Lizardmen, two legacy armies right there. And I noticed that a lot of people who play the old world still play the legacy armies. So, well, Games Workshop, if you're seeing this, make those legal again too. Bring them back too. Get us some updated rules and new miniatures. Oh, the rules don't even need to be updated. Legacy armies are pretty much still on par. It's just that we would like to see them get the attention we think they deserve. Those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this little video update. I can't promise I will do more of these more often, but this was a news item that I think was definitely worth putting some video to. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so, so that you will be notified when a new video hits. And I would love to see you also on the podcast. Well, I don't see you, of course, but if you want to check it out, the Forces of Fantasy podcast, you can find it on any podcast hosting platform. And what I do in the Forces of Fantasy podcast is that I take a look at the history of Warhammer, especially the game starting in 1st edition. At the moment, I am discussing the Ravening Hordes book that was released near the end of 2nd edition. We're in 1987, almost done with that. Just need to do the army lists, which might take a few episodes, but still, if you're interested in that, then come and take a look, have a listen to the podcast, and I will hopefully see you there or see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.